So hello and welcome to our Providence homestead. My name's Julie, and I'm just doing a voiceover here to kind of drown out all the noise that's going on in the house. Lots been going on the homestead. Some things I can't record or share with you, but it's just been busy. So I took a day to just kind of free my mind and decided to do a garden concrete stone. So that's what you're seeing here. If it's this video is a little on the long side, so you can always fast forward if you want to go faster. But you use Vaseline, and any kind of Vaseline will do, to grease the pan that you're going to use. Now this is a mold for a dragonfly that says, "Welcome to my garden." Later in the video, you'll see I also use a regular cake pan to do another stone. But yeah, I learned this in a class that I took at a local garden area that does classes pretty regularly. They tend to not have as many classes during the summer just because here in Florida it is very, very hot, and we do the classes in their greenhouse. So just imagine in the greenhouse being 100 degrees, you can't do much learning or want to do many crafts. But I learned this technique, I'd say about a month or so ago. We did one in class, and it turned out really good. But what I figured out was I was being a little too light on the sand, and that's what I'm applying here to the mold. It's sand I got from, colored sand that I got from a local craft store, box store. I call it the store that just draws you in and gives you all these ideas and projects and stuff. So anywho, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting in some of the green colors, and from start to finish, I would say this project lasted or took me about 2 hours. This video, thankfully, is not going to be 2 hours. I think it ended up being about 30 to 40 minutes. And like I said, you can always fast forward through some of it. But I wanted to see, let you see the technique that I was using. So I'm putting in on all the green, filling in where I think grassy areas should be, and putting it in that way. But yes, the first time I did it, I did too light. I thought that if I just put a little thin layer of the sand, that would be enough. And though the first one that I did in class, it turned out great. And and it's going to be in your garden, the sun's going to hit it, it's going to fade anyway. But I decided to kind of try and make it this way. So boy, we're having some noises here in construction. Well, hopefully this is better. I've kind of moved to a different area. I'm actually, while we're going over this video and doing the voiceover, I'm actually at the vet's office. Providence Homestead is part of Providence Kennels, Providence Doberman Kennels, and we have a female dog that is here to be tested to see if it's time to have a C-section, because although she's a big 80 to 90 pound dog, she only has one puppy that is equally large. So we're having to do an emergency type C-section for her and the puppy's own safety and health. So that's it. So now I didn't know there was going to be construction going on here. So there you go. There you have it. Anyway, we'll see if I can still do this video, and if it turns out well. If not, I'll just repeat it. So now I've switched over. I'm doing some yellow, and this was kind of more difficult to do just because there's the letters But at the end of the video, you'll see that I think it turned out nice. And like I said, if it's in the garden, it's eventually going to fade over time anyway. But I needed something, and I don't know if you're like this. I just needed something to kind of let my brain concentrate on something else and not have to worry about making decisions or changing things. And for me, sometimes it's a mind-numbing activity, nothing that doesn't take too much decision making or stress you out. The other thing I like to do is paint. I will paint a room, not paint like painting, like a picture you'd hang up on the wall, but I love to paint walls or stain wood or furniture, which I also did during this time I've been away from you, or perhaps clean out a closet. I'm just wired that way. But yeah, so just going on adding the different colors. I think I end up actually having at least a dozen, maybe a little bit more different types of colors. And besides going to the big box hobby supply company, I actually went to, and some of you may actually have it near your home, Five Below, and just got one of those sand kits for kids to do sand art, because it had a lot of different metallic looking colors. So I went and got that as well. And like I said, I'm just playing. In the class that I took, most of the ladies just brought the cake pan. So you really don't have to have a mold like this like I did. They just brought a cake pan, put some concrete in it, which was supplied by the class presenter, and then started adding their own supplies. There were some provided, but they would bring, I think one lady did more like a sea escape. Well, you can hear the road, can't you? A sea escape. And so she did seashells and momentums from a beach trip she put in there. Some used old broken jewelry, which I kind of incorporated into my cake pan one. Some ladies used rocks. Some ladies used sea glass. That's really pretty because it reflects the light of the sun as it goes over and gives a shimmering effect. So those were beautiful. And I'll see if I can find some of those pictures of the results, because there was pictures being taken during the process of it. But see, it's turning out pretty good. I just used my hands. So let me know what kind of activities you do to kind of de-stress. I know sometimes we all just sit down, plop down in front of the TV and turn on reruns of old shows. I Love Lucy, Andy Griffith's Show, Mayberry, Boy Meets World. Oh my goodness, there's so many reruns. Seinfeld, Friends. To where, you've seen the show several times. So you kind of know what's happening, but you can just relax your mind. And I think that's important for all of us, myself included, you included, to find something that helps you reduce the stress in your life, helps you to unwind, something that gives you pleasure, something that just helps you divert your energy away from what's going on in your world, what's going on in your life, what's happening with your parents, your kids, your grandkids, your dog, your home, what's going on around there, and diverts that energy. And some people do craft type projects like this. Some people go for walks. Some people garden. You know, it's no greater pleasure than going out and doing something physical and weed eating that garden bed, because you're ripping things out and you can take your frustrations and your stress and just rip those weeds right out of that garden, much like you're ripping things out of your life, the things that tend to upset you or cause you anguish, cause you just to not feel at peace. You could go outside whether there's neighbors around or not, and sing to your heart's content, whether it be a pop song, a uplifting Christian song, or something that, like I said, just gets you out there and gets you to where you can just turn loose without making a bad decision or a wrong decision or a hard decision, but just releasing all that energy that's inside of you that just needs to get out, that needs to be cleared. And I think that's good. I think we all need that. So find something in your life that gives you that joy, gives you that pleasure, gives you that release, and expand your creativity. So I apologize for all the noise. It is what it is. Take this on a walk with you and just listen to what I'm saying, and I pray that it touches something that inspires you to do something creative, something that gives you pleasure, something that is yours, and gives you a good result. So I think that's good, and don't strive for perfection. That's the other thing. I know how I'm wired. I strive to do things well, to try and do things perfectly. And I've come to learn at my wonderful age that the perfection is in the imperfection, that it's good to be imperfect, to not have everything perfect. There is a releasing, what kind of word I'm trying to find. There's a release that you don't have to be perfect, that you don't have to have things done perfectly. Like what I'm creating here. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that it turns out looking good. But seeing as I know the result at this that's coming, because I'm doing this video as an end result, I know not everything in this stone is going to be, this garden stone is going to be perfect. And I'm okay with that, because he gave me 2 hours of no stress, no pressure, just pleasure in doing something creatively, and creating something that will be beautiful in the garden. So I think I'm putting right now the finishing touches on this mold, and I'm kind of using the back of the spoon, I believe is what I used, to try and figure out the letters. And then I figured out that I was putting some of the letters backwards because, after all, it is written backwards to the angle that I'm seeing it. And that's at one point actually lifted up to say, okay, how is that E going? How is that L going? So, yeah, that's what makes using these molds sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult. And that's what I was doing here now. I was figuring out that, I had the letters backwards because I thought the letter went this way, and it actually was just the opposite. But like I said, it's okay. If it would have been finished and in the garden backwards, I would say that probably not 1% of the people that would walk past it heading to the front door would have noticed. And that's what I've said. Things don't have to be perfect. They're going in your garden. Frogs are going to jump on it. Ants are going to crawl over it. Bumblebees, butterflies may rest for a minute on it. But chances are people aren't going to go over there and study it for as if it's a masterpiece. It's a garden stone. It's there just to put some decoration, put a little jewelry in the flower bed, in the garden bed. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is where I'm lifting it up saying, which way did that letter go? So it's been good to continue and decorate this way. Now when you go, and later it's going to come on here, I used a kit, concrete kit that came from the Craft Big Box store to make my concrete. You can use that, or what we did in class is, because there were so many of us, the gentleman that was helping the teacher actually got a big bag of concrete and used the drill to stir it and mix it up so that he would have multiple batches. I just used the box kit, and it seemed to work out good. It was enough to make this mold and the cake mold. If it would have been the same amount to use 2 cake molds. So this summer, kids are home from school, go through your old jewelry, go to the dollar store and get some of those rocks that people used to use. I think the trend's leaving, but put in the bottom of your flower vase, those kind of glass beads. Find other things that would hold up in weather. Go to the beach, get some shells and put and use for a garden stone as a remembrance of what you did on summer vacation, or what the kids did on summer vacation. If you go to a park and go for a hike, don't cut down anything living like trees or flowers, because those won't last. But if you see a few pebbles or unusual rock, that kind of thing, then you can use those. I do not recommend you to pick up all the rocks from their driveway or their pavement. But if you're on the trail and you see something that looks neat, get 3 or 4 little rocks and put that part of the garden as a remembrance for an activity done in the summertime. If you go on vacation, sometimes you can find little things that remind you of that vacation. I would say things that are metal, glass, that kind of thing. You can put those in there. Another idea is back at the dollar store, you can get those little kits that you put or create a fairy garden. Now most of those are plastic, but they'll last for a few summers, especially if it's put in a really protected area of the garden. And you put down the concrete, let it sit for a while, and then start putting things in there to make a little gnome garden, as opposed to making a gnome garden with moss and dirt and that kind of thing. You could do it with the concrete. I would just advise that you just put it in a protected area since it's plastic. Now I'm starting the other one. This is the cake pan. Again, dousing it really well with the Vaseline. And you want to put that Vaseline in every area of whatever molds that you're using. And the reason for this is it will allow the stone, once it's dry, to come out more easily. Now, if you have problems with the stones coming out, what you can do is, after, I think I left mine for about 3 days to let it dry well outside, not in the sun. You don't want to dry it in the sun, because if it dries too fast, it will end up cracking. But you want to put it outside in a covered, shaded area on your porch. If you have room, I think my two actually started out on top of the bar in the kitchen, and I let it sit there for a day before I took it outside. But as long as it's outside in a shaded area, not in direct sunlight, it will dry perfectly fine. And at least leave it in there 2 days, 48 hours. I usually leave mine in there 3 to 4 days. One, because I usually get busy and forget about it. And secondly, it's not gonna harm it to go a little extra time just to dry, to make sure everything is set where it goes. Now I'm mixing up. I think I showed you the kit that I used. And it's really, I'm using, wow, I am by the highway. I am using a paint stirrer stick to mix this up, and I'm really trying hard to get down in the bottom, because that is, oh, there goes Miss Sammy. That is where a lot of the powder, the concrete is. I'm having to bring it up to the water. Now I could say you could probably have too much water, and you can also have not enough water. But I'll show you a technique if there is too much water in there, what you can do in order to have that water escape. But again, like I said, I'm just mixing. It's getting pretty difficult, and I don't have the strength in my hands and my arms as much as I'd love, so I'm really struggling, but that's okay. That's that physical activity that keeps you stronger, and also letting out some frustration. So I do add a little bit of extra water to kind of get it to where I can mix it up. And I just keep turning that bucket. Thanks to my friend who sent me an Easter basket. This is that bucket from there, so thank you. You know who you are. And so I'm mixing it up real well. Actually having to add even a little bit more water. Just add a little bit of water at a time. You don't want to add too much, but you still want it to be at that very thick brownie batter consistency. And just keep pushing it down, bringing it through to kind of mix it up. See, my hands are getting tired. But hey, we'll get through it. You just have to keep going. It's not like it's going to harden and turn into a concrete pillar in 5 minutes. So you have time to keep moving things around and mixing it up. Now I think it's getting at the point where I really like it, for its consistency. I'm double checking to make sure everything is off the bottom. I'm actually having to two-hand it just for my strength. Again, which is okay. We do what we gotta do, right? I hope I'm not annoying you with my talking incessantly over it. But I don't know how else to drown out all the noise. And plus you get to stand with me and while I'm waiting for test results. Okay, so now I'm just going to gently pour over the first mold that I did all the sand art on. Hold on. Okay, I think it's go time. We have to test the mama. So I guess she's ready to go in and be tested. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking here, and I'll come back in a little bit and finish up this video. But yeah, I'm just pouring on the concrete and getting it all in. Okay, so I'm back. So yeah, so I'm continuing to put the concrete on, and I'm kind of just like picking it up, not very far off the table, and pounding it. And what that does is that brings up the air bubbles, and I'm trying to get it off the concrete, off the edge, so it doesn't have a lip to it. It ends up that it eventually does have a little bit of a lip, but that's, like I said, that's okay. And I'm having to fill in to get to the edge, but try to not overfill it. Again, pounding it a little bit, getting those air bubbles to come up. And now I'm popping some of them. Okay, it's been a couple of days, maybe a week, since I started recording over this video. So I'm going to finish it up today here. And I'm continuing to fill up this mold and popping any air bubbles. It's really important to do that because you don't want to leave air bubbles in your mold, because as it hardens, it will stay in there and will cause your garden stone to be very susceptible to cracking or breaking right where those air bubbles are. Think of when you're making a loaf of bread or a pizza or something like that. If you have a big air bubble in there, it weakens the integrity of that bread or that pizza bread. So it's very important to get out those air bubbles. And now what you're not seeing off camera is I'm actually using the rest of that concrete, since the dragonfly mold is full now, is I'm pouring the rest of that concrete into the cake pan. And like I said, this was enough to do 2 different stones. If you have a child at home or children at home, you can easily take this kit and make maybe even smaller stones if you have a smaller cake pan, or if you run a daycare or vacation Bible school, or have a lot of children over, maybe you're child sharing, where moms get together and they each have a couple kids, and you're watching the kids on a Monday, and you have 4 or 5 different kids with you, then this is a great activity that you can do. And then at the end of the week, you can flip out the stones and get those to the kids. So like I mentioned earlier, one of the things you can do to help with the drying process is you can take paper towels and lay them gently on your stone. And what this does is it takes off that moisture. So that's the first one. And I do have, Walmart plastic bag because I don't want this to go, actually fall off the table and go onto the floor. So I take that and try to draw off some of the water, excess water that is in the concrete. And then each time I do that and I pull it off very gently, and I'm not pressing down hard, I'm lightly just touching the paper towel just so it absorbs in that water. And I just keep doing this over and over until it stops pulling out the moisture. And so I'm going back and forth between the dragonfly mold and the cake pan mold. Now, one thing I learned from doing this, because like I said in the class, I did the dragonfly mold only. I didn't do the cake pan where you actually decorate on top. But after I started this and got into this process, I remember some of the ladies were having problems with their decorations sinking into the concrete. And I figured it out much too late, and remembered that much too late when I'm doing the concrete stone, that I should have kept putting the paper towel on it so that it continued to drain out that excess water. Because if you start putting your decorations on too soon, then it will actually start sinking. And it really depends on the weight of whatever you're putting in there. That's why it's kind of good if you get some objects like seashells or rocks. Then it doesn't matter because you want to push them into the concrete anyway so that they adhere, they stay in the concrete after it's completely dry. So right now I'm putting some of those glass beads that you find at any craft store, dollar store, that kind of thing. It's those ones that you put, like I said earlier, that you put in the bottom of your vase for flowers. And so they're light, but they do also want to tend to sink. So I really wish I had remembered when I started this to kind of let it dry, not a lot, but continue using the paper towel method to draw off that excess water to help things be at a good sinking in level. If you don't have enough water, then it tends to stay on top. If it's too heavy an object, then it tends to sink in. It's a fine art. I haven't accomplished it yet, but it all works out in the end. And this is, like I said, when you can get creative. You can have, and if you do have kids over for the summer that you're watching, I think that's where I started with the whole sharing kids things. I know when my kids were small, a lot of us moms, all the kids played together and hung out together. So one day I would take the kids, and like I said, it'd be 4 or 5 kids at my house, which was great. We had a pool, we had games, we had movies, that kind of thing. And I would watch the kids all that day, do activities with them, feed them lunch, and they probably were at my house about 4 or 5 hours. And that gave the other moms time to go do errands that they needed to do without the children, go to the grocery store, do things around the house. And then on Tuesday, another mom would do the same thing, and I'd have an opportunity to have some free time to do the things that I needed to do without the kids there. And here again, I'm letting there's more water that has risen up from the concrete, and I'm going ahead and I'm putting a paper towel on the dragon mold to bring out up that moisture. And each time I do that technique, less and less water is getting absorbed. But it's really important that once you lift that off very gently, wad it up and put it in a plastic bag or garbage so that that doesn't, like I said, accidentally fall off the table onto the floor, because it would be a little bit more difficult to get that concrete up. And of course, I've laid lots of different newspaper and that kind of stuff on the table to kind of protect the table while I'm doing this project. I know I'm trying to do this talk over, and I'm outside with Miss Sam, and she barks at the leaves falling, so it is what it is. So one thing that happened for me around Easter is a home improvement store here had someone come in and hide Easter eggs throughout the store. And we just happened to be there that day, didn't know it at first. And when someone said, "Oh, there's Easter eggs hidden around in the plants section of the store or around the other parts of the store, you may find one." Well, game on. I love going Easter egg hunting even at my age. So this brooch, which is in there, is one of the things that I found. We ended up finding about 3 or 4 eggs. 2 of them were empty, just the eggs remaining. And one had this brooch in it, and I forget what the other one had in it, but I ended up re-hiding that one and leaving it for somebody else to find. But that's where I said the beads were fine. They didn't seem to want to sink as much. But the stone there with the beads, it did. Because it was so heavy. And that's why it really wasn't my taste in jewelry. But I loved it and knew I was going to be doing this project. So I went ahead and kept it specifically for this project. So here we go. I'm continuing to lay the different beads. And now I'm taking a little bit of that sand, that glitter, and kind of just spreading it over the top. And this will be nice when the sun hits it. It will actually give it a little bit of a shimmer. And this is what I'm talking about. You can be as creative as you'd like. And using glass beads, rocks, little mementos that you find on walks, or seashells, that kind of thing, really makes for a very individualized stone that you can do for yourself, you can do with kids, and just let it be creative. Okay, I think I'm getting all the different color sand. So if you end up doing this project yourself, send me a picture and let me know how you did. And also leave a comment. Let me know what you do to reduce stress, to get your mind off of what's going on. What crafts do you love to do? What projects do you love to do? And just let me know if you end up trying this. Each time I think I'll get better and better at doing it. And it's all a learning process anyway. Now some of the stones that are I'm starting to notice they are sinking is I end up getting some Q-tips, and I don't know if I'm going to show it here at the end. Some, not Q-tips, toothpicks to try and put up underneath the stones to actually cause them to raise up. And it's so funny at first, I want to push them down, push them in there, and then I see them, it's almost like quicksand starting to sink, and I'm like, no, I didn't want you to go down that far. But every one of us has broken jewelry that we have. And I'm not encouraging you to use your gold broken jewelry, but if you have some costume jewelry, you can use those. Sometimes you can actually go to the Goodwill or thrift stores, and they have big bags of beads or broken jewelry or little kitty toys, that kind of thing, for a couple bucks. And you can buy that and spread that out among different people participating, or your kids creating their own little stone escape. And that way it's not too expensive. It's just a few bucks and you can have something. And like I said, going to the dollar store, thrift stores, be amazed what you actually find. So I'm starting. So it looks like I'm finishing up here. At the end of the video, I will be adding pictures of how both of these turn out. And I think it turned out really good. So there you go. There's it dry. And there you go. There's how the dragon one turned out. And there's before I unmolded it. And there's the finished product. Have a great day. Hug and kiss your loved ones and give me a thumbs up. And we'll see you next time from our Providence Homestead.